Hello and welcome to my top 10 things to see and do in Egypt. This is based on my 2.5 weeks visiting the country. I had some concerns before I visited Egypt, but it turned out to be one of the best trips I've ever taken. Number 10. Coptic Cairo. Coptic Cairo was a stronghold for Christianity in Egypt both before and during the Islamic era. There were several highlights. The Babylon Fortress, which was built by the ancient Romans. The Hanging Church, also known as the St. Mary Coptic Orthodox Church, which was visited by the Holy Family. Abu Simbel, where the Holy Family stayed for weeks or months. The Church of St. George is a Greek Orthodox church within the Babylon Fortress, which is dedicated to St. George, the warrior saint, whose legend included slaying a dragon to symbolize the victory of good over evil. Ben Ezra's synagogue is located on a site where legend has it that this is where the Pharaoh's daughter discovered baby Moses. It's also where in the 19th century, a forgotten treasure of 400,000 Hebrew, Aramaic, and Judeo-Arabic sacred manuscripts were found in an attic storage room. And the Coptic Museum, which features the largest collection of Coptic Christian artifacts in the world. In a different part of Cairo, there's the Cave Church. The church was built into the side of a mountain, and 20,000 people can pray in its amphitheater. Number 9. Nile River Cruise from Aswan to Luxor. Not only was it a thrill to sail on the mighty Nile River and go through the Esna Lock, but we saw so much ancient Egyptian history along the way. In Aswan, we visited the unfinished obelisk, the Aswan Dam, and the Lotus Monument. We stopped at Kamumbo Temple, Philae Temple, Edfu Temple, and Abu Simbel, which we'll see later in the video. One of the most unique things I saw was when the vendors in their small rowboats would throw their goods from the river to the upper deck of the ship to make a sale. Number 8. Dendera Temple. Because Dendera Temple is an hour from Luxor, it doesn't get the large crowds that the Luxor temples do, so visiting the temple is a much calmer experience. I like to say that this is the best ancient Egyptian temple you've never heard of. The ceilings with their zodiac signs, hieroglyphics, and reliefs were stunning, as the original colors are still visible. There are reliefs that look like giant light bulbs that some believe show that ancient Egyptians had electricity. And I'll never forget climbing through holes in the wall on my back and stomach to reach ancient crypts, and perhaps I even entered the afterlife. Number 7. The Egyptian Museum in Cairo. This iconic pink museum has been here for over 120 years. Now I know that since the new billion-dollar Grand Egyptian Museum, the GEM, has fully opened in Giza near the pyramids, that less people are coming to this museum. In fact, all of the King Tut artifacts that were here are now displayed in the GEM. Having said that, the Egyptian Museum still has tens of thousands of important ancient Egyptian artifacts, and I do recommend that if you're staying in Cairo, come here first before you visit the pyramids and the GEM. As someone who loves history, especially ancient Egyptian history, this was my favorite thing to do in Cairo. There's another Cairo museum I visited called the National Museum of Egyptian Civilization, or NMEC. The museum didn't make my top 10, but one of their exhibits is absolutely worth visiting. The Royal Mummy exhibit, featuring over 20 mummies of ancient Egyptian kings and queens. Number 6. Visit a Cairo mosque. Egypt is an Islamic country, and you can't learn about Egyptian life in Cairo without visiting a mosque. My guide and I visited 13 mosques, and I'm not recommending you visit that many, but the Citadel is a great place to start, as it's perched high upon a hill and features two of the mosques we visited. The Muhammad Ali Mosque, also known as the Alabaster Mosque, which features the French clock tower in the courtyard and the beautiful central dome on the inside. And the Sultan Al-Nazir Muhammad Kuala Mosque, known for its green dome. I love the architecture and history of these mosques, and of course they have great religious value to the people of Egypt. Number 5, and this may come as a surprise to many, snorkeling in the Red Sea. When you think of Egypt, you probably think of the pyramids and sand, but the snorkeling in Egypt was amazing. My favorite place to snorkel was at my hotel in Sharm el-Sheikh, as many Sharm el-Sheikh resort hotels have their own house reefs. You just walk from the beach at the back of the hotel into the water and you're snorkeling. When you snorkel by the reef, you will see all kinds of sea life, and you can go snorkeling whenever you want at your own pace. Of all the places I've snorkeled around the world, this was definitely one of the best. Number 4. Luxor Temple and Karnak Temple in Luxor. We visited Luxor Temple at sunset. This temple has so much history, as it's been in near continuous religious use for 3,400 years. Luxor Temple was developed mostly by King Amenhotep III and King Ramses II, and aside from the ancient Egyptian elements, it also features a Roman church and an 800-year-old mosque. For me, the highlights were the front entrance with the obelisk and the courtyard featuring multiple large statues of King Ramses II. And as you can see, Luxor Temple looks really great lit up at night. We visited Karnak Temple at sunrise. It was built mostly by King Amenhotep III, King Ramses II, and King Thutmose III. The temple is dedicated to the sun god Amun-Ra, his wife, and their son. The highlight for me was the largest hall of columns in the world. 134 columns that are 3,000 years old, rising over 100 feet, illuminated by the rising sun. There are so many well-preserved hieroglyphics and reliefs here with the colors still intact. Number 3. The Abu Simbel Temples. They are located near the border of Egypt and Sudan and are stunning. When you stand in front of the giant statues of Ramses II at the Great Temple of Ramses II, it's just something you will never forget. This 3,000-year-old temple was buried in the sand for centuries, so the inside is quite well preserved. What most visitors don't realize is that there is also the Queen Nefertari Temple nearby, and that this entire temple complex was actually moved 200 meters inland decades ago to prevent it from being flooded, an incredible engineering feat. Number 2. Valley of the Kings in Luxor. This is where ancient Egyptian history comes alive. 65 tombs of the pharaohs, but only one mummy, the mummy of King Tut. What makes King Tut's tomb so unique is that it was the only tomb in the Valley of the Kings that was found intact with all of its treasures. I walked through 6 different underground tombs, and what is just stunning, what is amazing, is that so many of the reliefs and hieroglyphics have retained their original colors as if they were painted yesterday. There are so many stories told beneath the surface. And the number one thing to see and do in Egypt is, you guessed it, the Giza Pyramids and the Sphinx. Seeing the pyramids of Giza and the Sphinx in person was a dream come true. I've been waiting my whole life to see them, and they did not disappoint. In fact, I visited the pyramids on 2 separate days so I can take my time and really enjoy the experience. I not only visited the 3 main pyramids, the Great Pyramid of Khufu, the Middle Pyramid of Khafre, and the smaller Pyramid of Menkaure, but I also visited 3 of the smaller and relatively unknown Queen's Pyramids, and the quarry where the large limestone blocks were used to build the pyramids. I visited the pyramids on foot, took a camel ride, just like they did thousands of years ago, and took a horse and buggy ride to get a panoramic view of all 9 pyramids. One of the coolest things I did was to walk through the Great Pyramid, sometimes bending over and walking with 4-foot-high ceilings above me until I reached the king's chamber with the empty sarcophagus of the pharaoh Khufu. This was quite an adventure. And of course, the Sphinx, with the body of a lion and the head of a human, is also one of the most recognizable monuments in the world. It was built as a guardian of the pyramids, most likely featuring the face of King Khafre, whose pyramid is right behind it. The body of the Sphinx was buried in the sand on and off for centuries. Like the pyramids, It's thousands of years old, but still holds many mysteries that have yet to be discovered. I'd like to thank my two outstanding guides, Ahmed, who showed me around Cairo and the pyramids, and Noor, who showed me around Aswan, Luxor, and other places in Upper Egypt for bringing ancient Egypt to life. Both of them are Egyptologists. If you are planning on coming to Egypt, I would strongly recommend you hire Ahmed and Noor as your tour guides. Their contact information, as well as a link for each entire video of the places we visited, are in the video description. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the video.